I froze in my own doorway, my heart pounding as I watched Eleanor's designer luggage claim more and more territory in our pristine foyer. Not just any luggage, each piece was a limited edition tech-integrated smart case, their LED status indicators blinking mockingly at me. One bag, then 3, then 7. The pit in my stomach grew with each metallic thud against our carefully chosen bamboo flooring. My name is Victoria, and this was the moment my carefully curated life began to unravel. Darling, where's Bennett? Surely he doesn't expect his own mother to manage these smart luggage pieces herself? Eleanor's voice carried that familiar patronizing tone that set my teeth on edge. She tapped her Apple Watch with manicured precision. These cases need to be synced to your home network. He's still at the office, I managed, forcing a professional smile, the same one I used during difficult marketing presentations. I thought you were staying for the weekend. Eleanor laughed, the sound like Siri delivering bad news. Oh, sweetie, didn't Bennett tell you? After the divorce, I simply can't bear to stay in that empty smart home. I'll be here until I find my footing again. The market for female fintech consultants my age is surprisingly competitive. My chest tightened as I watched her already pulling out her iPad. But now, show me to the master suite, she interrupted, already climbing our stairs, her heels clicking against the wood like keyboard strokes. I'll need to set up my workstation. The master suite? But that's our Victoria, dear, she turned, her perfectly manicured hand gripping the banister, her fitness tracker glinting. I managed a 7-figure investment portfolio and raised Bennett in a fully automated smart mansion. I simply cannot be expected to sleep in a guest room like some visiting intern. I'm still the queen of this digital domain. I followed her upstairs, protests dying in my throat, as she flung open our bedroom door, the space Bennett and I had spent months perfecting. From the smart curtains that responded to our circadian rhythms to the premium air purifier that kept our allergies at bay. Perfect, she declared, already opening our walk-in closet's smart organization system. Bennett can migrate your belongings to the guest room this evening. I'll need to reconfigure these smart hangers to my preferences. My phone buzzed with a notification. Bennett, Mom mentioned staying with us, right? Crazy day at the office, these startup mergers are intense. Love you. I gripped my phone so hard I thought the screen protector might crack. Eleanor, we didn't discuss, oh, look at this antiquated system. She was already tapping through our closet's interface. Basic motion sensors? No humidity control? No wonder Bennett's suits always look so wrinkled. I'll have my smart wardrobe management system delivered tomorrow. The app on my phone pinged as she began removing my clothes from the digital inventory. Hazel, I texted my best friend with trembling fingers, code red. Need wine and tech support now. I'll need to upgrade your smart home hub too, Eleanor continued, oblivious to my mounting horror as she pulled out her tablet. This, she gestured vaguely at our carefully calibrated home automation system, is a bit entry-level, don't you think? The doorbell camera notification chimed, and I nearly sprinted downstairs. Hazel stood there holding 2 bottles of red wine and wearing her time to hack the Matrix expression. I came as fast as I could, she whispered, following me to the kitchen. What's the emergency? Before I could answer, Eleanor's voice floated down through our home's intercom system. Victoria, be a dear and bring up some tea, Earl Grey, 2 sugars, splash of oat milk. I've already added my preferences to your smart kitchen's database. Hazel's eyes widened as she noticed our home's status panel blinking with new user permissions. Is that? I nodded, uncorking the first bottle with unnecessary force. What's she doing here? Moving in, apparently, I hissed, pouring a generous glass. She's currently reprogramming my entire house because she's still the queen of this digital domain. Oh, hell no. Hazel grabbed the second glass, her UX designer instincts clearly triggered. Please tell me Bennett didn't authorize these system changes. Bennett didn't even tell me until after she arrived. I pulled up his message. He texted me like it was nothing, like, "Hey honey, my mother's moving in, taking administrative control of our smart home, and apparently I'm sleeping in the guest room now. Love you. Victoria." Eleanor's voice echoed through every smart speaker in the house. That tea isn't showing up on my beverage tracking app. I shouted back, my voice honey sweet even as I knocked back half my wine. Hazel grabbed my arm, her eyes fixed on the kitchen's control panel where Eleanor's user profile was steadily gaining more permissions. "You're not actually going to let her stay, are you?" she whispered, already pulling up the house's security protocols on her phone. I stared at the ceiling, where I could hear Eleanor's expensive heels clicking back and forth as she reorganized our entire home automation system. "Of course not," I whispered, a plan already forming in my mind. "But sometimes you have to play the long game. You have to let the queen think she's won before you can force a system reset." Victoria. The tea. My wellness app shows my hydration levels dropping. I poured hot water over a tea bag, adding exactly 2 sugars and precisely the right amount of oat milk, watching our smart kitchen log each ingredient. As I carried it upstairs, I saw my clothes being systematically removed from the closet's inventory, designer labels and Target finds equally dismissed. "Your tea, Eleanor," I said, setting it beside her on my nightstand. She didn't look up from her tablet, where she was reconfiguring our home's entire interface. "Thank you, dear. Oh, and we'll need to discuss the kitchen tomorrow. The organization algorithm is terribly inefficient. I can help you optimize it properly." I smiled, tight-lipped. "Of course. Whatever you think is best." Back in the kitchen, Hazel was already pouring me another glass while discreetly running a security scan on our network. "So, what's the plan?" I took a long sip, remembering the property documents and admin passwords stored securely in my cloud drive, the ones that listed me as the sole owner of our house and its systems. The ones Eleanor knew nothing about. "The plan," I said quietly, "is to let her think she's won, for now." Hazel clinked her glass against mine. "Long live the queen of the smart home." I smiled, but this time it reached my eyes. Not for long. 2 weeks into Eleanor's digital reign, I found myself hiding in my own pantry, clutching my phone like a lifeline, the only space not yet equipped with her surveillance cameras. She reprogrammed my entire kitchen inventory system, I whispered to Hazel through my AirPods. "Who categorizes spices by molecular compound instead of cuisine type? Human should be tagged with Mexican and Indian, not organic compounds." "That's what broke you? The spice categorization?" Hazel's laugh crackled through the encrypted line. "No. What broke me was finding her deleting my grandmother's digital recipe collection from the family cloud because it was cluttering the server space. I had to restore it from backup. The kitchen's motion sensors detected movement outside. I held my breath. "Victoria?" Eleanor's voice rang out through the nearest smart speaker. "Why is your location showing as unavailable? Are you interfering with the house's tracking system again?" I emerged from the pantry, phone behind my back. "Just doing a manual inventory check." "Oh, good." She pulled out her tablet, displaying a complex spreadsheet. "I've created a new AI-driven cleaning schedule. I noticed the air quality sensors are showing higher than optimal dust particle levels." I stared at the color-coded algorithms and automated task assignments. "I work full-time, Eleanor. I'm managing 3 major marketing campaigns." "Well, yes, dear, but surely you can oversee basic home optimization." When Bennett was growing up, I maintained a perfect smart home while managing billion-dollar portfolios. The front door's facial recognition system chimed, and Bennett's voice called out, "I'm home." Eleanor's face lit up as her smartwatch pinged. "There's my boy." She rushed to greet him, leaving her tablet on the counter like a ticking time bomb. I followed slowly, watching their reunion, the same one they performed every evening as if they hadn't seen each other in years instead of hours. "Mom, something smells amazing," Bennett said, kissing her cheek as the kitchen's aroma diffusers adjusted automatically. "Just a little cocoa vin." I noticed Victoria's attempt at French cuisine received rather low ratings from the smart oven's cooking analysis. I cleared my throat. "Actually, Bennett, can we talk privately?" I glanced meaningfully at the nearest smart speaker. He followed me to our new bedroom, the guest room that still felt temporary, like a beta test we couldn't exit. I pulled out my phone and activated the signal jammer Hazel had given me. "What's up?" he asked, loosening his tie while eyeing the new security cameras his mother had installed. "Your mother deleted my grandmother's entire digital recipe archive today. I'm sure she was just trying to optimize the storage space. She's reconfigured every smart device, changed all our automation routines, and now she's created an AI cleaning schedule that would challenge a robotics lab." Bennett sat on the bed, now equipped with Eleanor's chosen sleep tracking system. "She's just trying to help, Vic. She's going through a tough time with the divorce. The tech industry can be brutal at her age." "And what about what I'm going through?" My voice cracked. "This is our home, Bennett. Our system. Not her personal testing environment." Eleanor's voice came through every speaker, overriding my signal jammer. "Dinner is ready. I've synchronized the dining room ambience with my premium mood enhancement algorithm." Bennett stood, straightening his tie again. "Let's just get through dinner. We can talk more later." But we didn't talk more later. We never did. At dinner, I pushed perfectly cooked chicken around my plate while Eleanor regaled us with stories of Bennett's childhood, each one punctuated by notifications from her endless array of smart devices. "Remember that summer in Silicon Valley when you won the junior coding competition?" Bennett nodded, mouth full of wine-braised vegetables. "He was always such a natural with technology," she told me, as if I hadn't been working in digital marketing for the past decade. I knew he'd be successful in tech. Mother's intuition, backed by predictive analytics, of course. My phone buzzed under the table. A message from Hazel. "Found something in your archived notifications. Old email from Piper." I excused myself, ignoring Eleanor's comment about device usage during her perfectly calibrated dining experience, and retreated to the bathroom, the one room where I'd managed to secretly disable her surveillance system. The email was buried deep in my cloud storage, Piper's words as sharp as the day she sent them 5 years ago. "Dear Victoria, I know we haven't spoken since Mom's passing, but I need to warn you about Eleanor. She did the same thing to me and Jason when we bought our first smart home, moved in after her temporary career setback, took over everything. By the time we realized what was happening, she had complete control of our home systems and our marriage was in shambles. Don't let her digitally colonize your life like she did ours. Love, Piper." I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, hearing Eleanor's voice float up through the house's intercom system as she lectured about proper smart home protocol. 5 years ago, I'd thought Piper was being dramatic about her mother-in-law. Now I understood. Back at the table, Eleanor was serving her crème brûlée, the kitchen's AI proudly announcing its perfect temperature and consistency. "I'll teach you how to properly calibrate the smart oven's dessert settings someday, Victoria. It's really not as complex as your cooking history suggests." I smiled, encrypting Piper's email securely on my phone. That would be lovely, Eleanor. But my mind was already racing. If Eleanor had done this before, there had to be a way to stop her, and my sister-in-law might just be the key to regaining control. Under the table, I typed a quick message to a number I hadn't used in years. Piper, it's Victoria. You were right about everything. Can we talk? Secure channel only. The response came almost immediately, finally. I've been monitoring her digital footprints since she left us. When and where? I'll bring my network analysis tools. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt hope stirring. Eleanor might be playing chess with our smart home, but she didn't know I had just found my white hat hacker queen. The coffee shop was 15 miles from my house, far enough that Eleanor's location tracking would only show me in a generic out-of-range status. I spotted Piper immediately, her copper hair unchanged, her laptop decorated with security certification stickers. You look exactly the same, she said, pulling back from our embrace to study my face. Just more tired. That's what digital surveillance does to you, I replied, noting the dark circles under her eyes. Looks like the real estate tech sector isn't much kinder. She gestured to a corner table, strategically positioned away from security cameras. Over locally roasted lattes, I detailed the past 3 weeks, the smart home takeover, the system reconfigurations, the AI-driven cleaning schedules. Piper nodded along, occasionally wincing as she ran diagnostics on her laptop. God, it's like watching a replay of my network logs, she said. Did she do the thing where she accidentally corrupted your favorite photos in the cloud? Last week, my entire wedding album. And the passive-aggressive wellness notifications? Yesterday, she had the kitchen AI alert Bennett about my concerning caffeine intake levels. Piper reached across the table, gripping my hand. Listen carefully, Vic. This isn't about helping a divorced woman restart her tech career. It's about control. She did the exact same thing to Jason and me, started with the master bedroom's environmental controls, then reprogrammed our lives until we forgot what normal system settings felt like. How long did she maintain admin access? Piper's knuckles went white around her cup. 18 months. By the end, Jason and I were sleeping in different rooms, our sleep tracking data used as ammunition in every argument. He couldn't understand why I couldn't just accept his mother's system optimizations. Sound familiar? My phone buzzed, a notification from Eleanor through our Homes app. Noticed your location data is inconsistent. Kitchen AI, preparing Bennett's favorite quiche for dinner. Should I add you to the meal plan? She monitors my movements now, I said, showing Piper the message. Of course she does. Next, she'll start inviting Bennett's single female colleagues from the tech sector to dinner. Let me guess, some young programmer named Rachel? I nearly choked on my coffee. She did that last night. A UX designer named Rachel. Because nothing motivates a daughter-in-law like a little Silicon Valley competition. Piper pulled out her tablet, scrolling through data logs. But here's what Eleanor doesn't know. I documented everything. Every unauthorized system access, every modification timestamp, every digital footprint from when she commandeered our smart home. I even tracked her financial algorithms' interference with our accounts. How did you finally regain control? We got lucky. The house's smart systems were registered in my name because Jason's credit score was flagged by the AI. When we finally grew spines, we had a cybersecurity lawyer draft up digital access revocation papers. She paused. Who owns your system admin rights? I do. For network security purposes. A slow smile spread across Piper's face. Then you have options. I'm sending you my lawyer's contact, Tucker Armstrong. He specializes in smart home custody cases. But Bennett will be devastated. Yeah. Jason didn't speak to me for weeks. But ask yourself this: would you rather have a few weeks of digital detox or years of watching your marriage dissolve under Eleanor's algorithms? My phone buzzed again. Eleanor also noticed the bathroom's moisture sensors indicating mold risk. I've scheduled a smart ventilation upgrade. Don't worry about the cost. I've already synced my premium credit card with your home improvement app. She's upgrading our bathroom systems without authorization, I said flatly. Of course she is. Piper pulled out her laptop. Start documenting everything. Every unauthorized access attempt, every system modification, every automated charge. Tucker will need a complete digital trail. I feel like I'm plotting a cyber coup. You are. But it's your smart home, Vic. Your digital territory. She squeezed my hand. And unlike me, you caught it early. You still have a chance to save your home network and your marriage. Another notification from Eleanor. The smart home contractors need admin access at 8 a.m. tomorrow. I've used your stored payment credentials for the deposit. Hope that's okay. I showed Piper the message, my hands shaking with anger. And there's your digital smoking gun, she said, already dialing a number. Tucker? It's Piper. Remember my sister-in-law I mentioned? She's ready to talk. Bringing receipts, digital and financial. As Piper arranged the meeting, I stared at my phone, watching the stream of notifications from Eleanor detailing all the ways she was optimizing my life through our home systems. Each alert felt like another firewall between Bennett and me. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., Piper announced, ending the call. Tucker will show you exactly how to regain control of your systems. What if the reset fails? It won't. Because this time you have something I didn't. What's that? Me. Piper's smile was fierce as she pulled up Eleanor's digital footprint. And I've been waiting 5 years to see Eleanor's admin privileges finally get revoked. My phone buzzed one final time. Bennett, Mom says your location data is glitching. Everything okay? You've been acting strange lately. I looked at Piper, at the determination in her eyes, and typed back, everything's about to be reconfigured. Ready to overthrow a digital queen? Piper asked, closing her laptop. I gathered my things, feeling stronger than I had in weeks. It's time to take back my smart home. Tucker Armstrong's office was a perfect blend of traditional law practice and modern tech, with smart displays showing real-time case analytics. He studied the digital evidence I'd brought, property deeds, system logs, unauthorized access records, and screenshots of Eleanor's improvements to my home network. Well, he said, leaning back in his chair while his tablet processed the data, this is actually simpler than I expected. Simple? I shifted in my seat, watching the analysis running across his screens. Nothing about this feels simple. From a legal tech perspective, it is. He tapped through my property documentation. The smart home system is registered solely in your name. Your mother-in-law has no legal right to access admin controls or make unauthorized system modifications, let alone process charges through your secured payment platforms. Tucker pulled up a digital spreadsheet. Let's talk numbers. How much has she spent on unauthorized smart home upgrades? I shared my payment logs. His eyebrows shot up. $122,000 on intelligent bathroom remodeling? The existing moisture control systems were suboptimal. And these equipment orders? New smart furniture? She donated our old pieces to a tech recycling center? Tucker's fingers flew across his keyboard. Without your authentication? She said it was a surprise upgrade? A surprise that cost $8,000? He shook his head. Mrs. Bennett, this isn't just system intrusion, it's digital financial abuse. The word abuse hit me like a crashed program. I didn't want to cause conflicts in our network. That's exactly what she's counting on. He pulled up another file. Your sister-in-law's case was similar, but you have something she didn't: clear documentation of unauthorized system access and financial misconduct. My phone pinged with another notification. Eleanor, the contractors found compatibility issues with the existing smart systems, adding another $5,000 to the upgrade. Don't worry, I've already processed the payment. I showed Tucker the message. He immediately pulled up a digital form on his tablet. That's it. We're filing today. He started populating fields. First, we'll revoke all her system permissions. Then, we'll issue a formal digital access termination notice, giving her 30 days to disconnect from your home network. 30 days? My stomach churned. I have to live with her monitoring my every move for another month? Unfortunately, yes. But we'll implement immediate restrictions regarding any further system modifications or financial transactions. He slid his tablet across his desk. Digital signature here and here. My hand hovered over the screen. What about Bennett? Your husband's feelings are valid, but they don't override your digital property rights. This is your smart home, your data, and your life being systematically compromised. I pressed my finger to the biometric scanner. Tucker nodded approvingly. I'll have these filed within the hour. Expect the official notification to hit her devices by tomorrow morning. She'll try to override this. Let her try. He sent me his encrypted contact details. Document everything from here on out: every system access, every command entry, every unauthorized transaction. If she attempts to escalate, we'll be ready. Back in my car, I called Piper. It's done, I said. I filed the digital eviction. How do you feel? Terrified. Relieved. Guilty. I gripped the steering wheel. How did Bennett take it when you and Jason? He didn't speak to me for 3 months. Called me heartless, cruel, technologically paranoid. Piper paused. But you know what? Years later, after their divorce, Jason told me he wished he'd listened to me sooner about his mother's digital manipulation. My phone chimed with another notification. Bennett this time. Mom says you missed the smart home upgrade consultation. Everything okay? Your behavioral analytics are showing unusual patterns lately. I can't keep deceiving him, I told Piper. Then don't. Tell him tonight, before the system notifications arrive. Give him a chance to process it privately. I started the car, resolve strengthening. Will you stay online? I'll keep my emergency channel open. You've got this, Vic. Remember, you're the true admin here. Driving home, I rehearsed my explanation, but all my carefully planned scripts evaporated when I walked in to find Eleanor directing contractors to uninstall my grandmother's vintage smart display, the one piece of tech that had emotional value beyond its functionality. Oh, good, you're home, she chirped. I hope you don't mind, but since we're already upgrading, I thought we should modernize the Master Suite's interface too. Bennett's workspace should match mine, don't you think? I stared at the contractors dismantling our carefully curated smart home setup, at the payment confirmation flashing on my phone, at this woman who'd taken over my digital life bit by binary bit. Actually, Eleanor, I said, my voice steady, I do mind. I mind very much. She blinked, that practiced confusion crossing her face. But darling, stop the installation, I told the contractors. Now. Victoria. Eleanor's voice rose as her smartwatch flashed red. Don't be ridiculous. Bennett will be home in exactly 18 minutes according to his GPS. I think it's time we all had a talk about system optimization. I pulled out my phone and texted Bennett, "Come straight home. We need to talk. All of us. No remote access." His reply was immediate, "On my way." "Everything okay with the network?" I watched Eleanor directing the confused contractors to continue the installation, already accessing her conflict resolution algorithms. "No," I typed back, "but it will be." Bennett's biometric scan at the front door felt like a system crash waiting to happen. I stood in our partially dismantled smart home setup, contractors frozen mid-installation, Eleanor's face a mask of calculated concern. "What's going on?" Bennett asked, taking in the scene. "Mom said something about system upgrades." "Your wife is having some sort of technical breakdown," Eleanor said, reaching for his arm while checking her device stats. "She's trying to halt the improvements I'm implementing for us." "Improvements?" I pulled up my phone's logs. "Let's talk about improvements, Eleanor." $12,000 for the guest bath automation, $8,000 for smart furniture, and now this, I gestured at the destruction around us, another $15,000 charged to my secured account without authentication? Bennett's face paled. "Mom?" "Darling, I was only trying to help. This system needed updating, and Victoria clearly doesn't have the technical expertise to what?" I interrupted. "To manage my own smart home? To control my own accounts?" "Our home," Bennett said quietly. "Our network." Actually, I took a deep breath. Legally, it's not. The system is registered in my name. The payment protocols she's been bypassing are in my name. Eleanor's perfectly maintained smile tightened. "Bennett, sweetie, perhaps we should discuss this on a private channel. Victoria's clearly experiencing some technical, clearly done being hacked," I finished. "Gentlemen," I addressed the contractors, "please terminate installation. This upgrade is unauthorized. You can't do that." Eleanor stepped forward, her devices frantically syncing. "Bennett, tell her she can't do that." But Bennett was staring at the transaction logs I'd displayed on our main screen. $35,000 in unauthorized system modifications, Mom? What were you thinking? "I was thinking about your future. This smart home was barely functional when I arrived. We loved this home," I said. "Every customized, personally configured inch of it, until you arrived and decided to rewrite it in your own code." "Bennett," Eleanor's voice wavered as her vitals spiked on her wellness tracker, "surely you can see I was only trying to help, to give you the kind of advanced home system you deserve. By erasing my grandmother's digital legacy?" I pointed to the vintage display, now partially disconnected. "By deleting my archived data? By overriding our master access and pushing us into guest permissions?" "I deserve full admin access," I cut in. "You deserve nothing. This isn't your system. These aren't your permissions to grant." Bennett picked up a digital invoice. "Mom, did you really recycle our original smart furniture without asking?" "It was outdated." "It was our first major tech investment together," he said. "We spent months optimizing it. I replaced it with superior technology. With my authentication credentials," I added, "without my authorization." The contractors shifted uncomfortably, tablets in hand. "Ma'am, should we proceed with the installation or initiate rollback?" "The upgrade is cancelled," I repeated. "Bennett." Eleanor protested, but Bennett was still scrolling through the logs. "AI consultant fees. Automated landscaping contracts. Mom, this is digital invasion." "What's insane," Eleanor drew herself up, her devices blinking in distress, "is how ungrateful you both are after all the optimizations I've implemented." "Optimizations?" I laughed. You mean like inviting Rachel from Bennett's dev team to dinner, trying to make me feel obsolete? Reprogramming our home without our consent? Bennett's head snapped up. You invited Rachel? She's a brilliant young programmer. She's my colleague, Amam, and I'm married to someone who clearly doesn't appreciate. Stop. Bennett's voice was firm. Just stop the protocols. Silence fell. Even the contractor's tablets seemed to quiet. Gentlemen, Bennett addressed them, thank you for your time, but we won't be requiring your services. They couldn't disconnect from our network fast enough. Bennett, Eleanor tried again, her smartwatch displaying elevated stress levels. Let's approach this logically. Logically? I pulled out my tablet. Okay, let's be logical. This is a digital access termination notice. You have 30 days to disconnect from our network. The color drained from Eleanor's face as her devices registered the notification. You wouldn't dare disable my access. I already have. The termination protocols will activate officially tomorrow. Bennett, she turned to him, her wellness tracker beeping with rising blood pressure. Are you going to let her cut off your mother's connection? Bennett looked from the transaction logs to the dismantled smart displays to his mother's face. What choice have you left us? But I'm your system administrator. And I'm his wife, I said quietly, and this is my network. 30 days, Eleanor. She drew herself up, her devices flashing warning signals. You'll regret this reset. Both of you. As she stormed upstairs, her heels clicking like keyboard strokes, Bennett sank onto the edge of our half-dismantled interface station. I had no idea, he whispered. About any of it. I sat beside him amid the disrupted system cables. I know. What do we do now? From upstairs came the sound of furious typing, drawers slamming. Now, I said, taking his hand, we reclaim our home. One system at a time. He squeezed my fingers. Starting with the master protocols. I smiled, hearing Eleanor's muffled commands through the ceiling. Starting with our protocols. The first week after serving the digital access termination notice felt like managing a system under constant attack. Eleanor alternated between radio silence and data floods, while Bennett struggled to maintain his emotional bandwidth through it all. She's your mother, I said one morning, watching him stare into his smart brewed coffee. You're allowed to feel conflicted about the permissions reset. She charged $35,000 to your secured accounts, Vic, he rubbed his face. Who breaches security protocols like that? A notification pinged upstairs, followed by another burst of system alerts. Someone who's never faced authentication failure, I answered. The doorbell's facial recognition pinged. We both tensed. We'd grown to dread unexpected visitors since Eleanor had started inviting random neighbors over to witness her digital exile. But it was Hazel, bearing breakfast burritos and tech support. Thought you might need backup, she said, setting down the food. I saw Eleanor at Starbucks this morning, telling everyone who'd connect about her cruel daughter-in-law. Wonderful, I muttered. What's the damage to our social graph? She tried to convince the barista you're holding her in a tech-free zone. Hazel unwrapped a burrito. But most people seemed more interested in their morning coffee than her network drama. Bennett's phone buzzed. His face fell as he read the message. Mom's sister wants to remote in, he said. Says I need to see reason before it's too late. Too late for what? I asked. According to this, too late to save my data from my hack-happy wife. Hazel choked on her burrito. Hack-happy? You literally run security protocols for half your clients. Facts don't compute anymore, I said. We're off her approved script, and Eleanor's rewriting the narrative. More notifications pinged overhead. Then Eleanor appeared in the doorway, her devices perfectly synced despite the early hour. "Oh," she said, voice dripping with digital disdain, "company. Would you like to share your breakfast analytics? Want a burrito?" Hazel offered, maintaining her user-friendly interface. "I don't consume unmonitored calories." Eleanor turned to Bennett. "Darling, did you receive Carol's emergency broadcast? Your aunt is very concerned about your system integrity." "Mom," Bennett's voice was tired, "please don't network the whole family into this." "But they're already connected. Everyone's discussing how your wife is forcing me offline." "You have 3 smart homes," I pointed out. "That's not the parameter." Eleanor's voice rose. "The point is administrative access. Family protocols. You clearly know nothing about system values, like requesting authentication before spending thousands on unauthorized upgrades." "I was optimizing your environment." "No," Bennett stood suddenly, "you were controlling it. Like you always have." Eleanor stepped back, her biometrics spiking. "Bennett. After everything I've configured for you, configured?" Bennett laughed, a harsh sound. "You're hijacking our home network, spending our resources, trying to fragment my marriage's connectivity. That's not configuration, that's malware." Hazel quietly began packing up her devices. "I should disconnect." "No, stay." Eleanor sneered. "Watch how this ungrateful user treats his primary administrator, the woman who coded his first programs, who's only trying to optimize his life." "Stop the script." Bennett shot back. The room fell silent. Even Eleanor's devices seemed stunned by his outburst. "You don't mean that," she whispered. "Don't I? You accessed our system without permission, took over our primary interface, spent money we'd saved for upgrading our family protocols on modifications we never authorized, family protocols." Eleanor latched onto the words. "You're planning to expand your network?" I felt the blood drain from my face. We hadn't told anyone about the fertility treatment funds we'd been saving. "The money you spent," Bennett continued, voice shaking, "was for IVF procedures." Hazel's tablet slipped from her hands. Eleanor's perfect interface couldn't hide her system shock. "Why didn't you share that data?" "Because it wasn't in your access permissions." Bennett exploded. "Not everything in my life needs your administrative oversight or input. I'm your root user. And I'm a grown developer with a wife I love and a system you're trying to overclock." Eleanor's lips trembled as her devices flickered. "I see. Well, if that's how you want to configure this." She straightened her shoulders. "I'll be migrating to Carol's network until this unfortunate system error is resolved." She swept upstairs, leaving behind the heavy weight of corrupted protocols. Bennett slumped back into his chair. "I'm sorry," he said to me. "About the IVF funds. We'll rebuild our savings buffer." I took his hand across the table. "We'll rewrite the code." Hazel stood quietly. "I'll log out. Ping if you need backup." After she left, Bennett and I sat in silence, listening to Eleanor's aggressive packing protocols execute upstairs. "She'll try to reconnect," I said finally. "I know." He squeezed my hand. "But this time, we've got better firewalls." A suitcase thumped down the stairs, followed by Eleanor's deliberate footsteps. 23 days left," I whispered. Bennett nodded, and we held on to each other as the front door slammed, marking the beginning of the next phase in our battle for digital independence. The system logs showed Eleanor's temporary disconnect at 2:47 p.m. For the first time in weeks, our home network was quiet. The doorbell chimed as I finished recalibrating our home's interface settings, restoring the vintage smart display that had once belonged to my grandmother, the one piece of tech we'd managed to protect from Eleanor's system purge. Coming. I called, checking my network status. Behind me, our master suite looked exactly as Bennett and I had configured it, a perfect blend of both our protocols, without a trace of Eleanor's optimizations. Hazel stood at the door, holding a bottle of champagne. Ready for a proper system reboot? Almost. Just waiting for, I'm here. Piper called, jogging up the front walk. Sorry, traffic disrupted my ETA. We settled in the living room, our living room, with our original smart furniture restored to its proper configurations. The smart dining set we'd invested in had been recovered from the tech recycling center, reinstalled in its rightful place. Hazel activated the champagne protocols. Have you told them yet? I touched the encrypted file in my local storage. Waiting for the right moment. Tell us what? Piper accepted a glass while running a routine system check. The front door's biometrics registered Bennett's arrival with our usual takeout order. Ladies, he nodded, heading for the kitchen. Bennett. I called. Stay, please. He paused, reading something in my voice. Everything okay? I pulled up the secure file. Remember our appointment last week? The fertility clinic's encryption was clearly visible. Bennett's eyes widened. Vic. Open it. His hands trembled as he decrypted the file. Hazel and Piper held their breath. Positive, he whispered. The protocol worked. I nodded, tears spilling. We're expanding our network. Money has a way of revealing truths about people, especially family. This lesson hit me hard as I stood outside the executive boardroom of Metropolitan General Hospital, my hand frozen mid-reach for the door handle. Through the heavy oak panel, the voices of the board members drifted clearly. Brielle deserves the best wedding we can provide. My mother's cultured voice carried that familiar tone of absolute certainty. She's always made us proud with her achievements in the design world. I lowered my hand, my throat tightening around words I'd never say. The folder containing my master's program recommendation request crinkled slightly in my grip. 200,000 is quite an investment, Victoria, my father replied, his voice already carrying that familiar note of surrender I'd heard countless times before. Theodore, please. This is Brielle we're talking about. When else will we get to showcase our family's success to the medical board? Her connection to the Blakes could open so many doors for the hospital's fundraising. A bitter laugh escaped my lips before I could stop it. Success. Right. The same success they refused to support when I needed help with my undergraduate tuition 5 years ago. I'd worked 3 jobs at various medical offices to put myself through state college, while Brielle got a fully funded experience at RISD, complete with a semester abroad program. Audra managed just fine without our help. My father started, but Mother cut him off sharply. Audra is different, she said, making different sound like a diagnosis. She's always been practical, independent. Brielle needs our support. You know how sensitive she is about maintaining her social media presence. The folder slipped from my fingers, hitting the polished hospital floor with a soft thud. I froze, but their conversation continued uninterrupted, my presence as invisible as it had always been. Besides, my mother added, her voice taking on that society wife smoothness she reserved for important announcements, Brielle is marrying into the Blake family. Harrison's father sits on 3 major hospital boards. This wedding needs to reflect their status. I bent to retrieve my folder, my hands trembling slightly as I gathered the scattered papers. Through the gap beneath the door, I could see their shadows moving across the floor, Mother's Louboutins clicking as she paced, Father probably slumped in one of those leather executive chairs. Remember Audra's engagement dinner last month? My mother's voice dropped lower, but hospital walls had a way of carrying secrets. That medical conference center she chose, the Blakes were there, and I could tell Harrison's mother was less than impressed. The catering was excellent, my father protested weakly. His voice carried the same tone he used when reviewing budget cuts. It wasn't about the food, Theodore. It was about presentation, about image. Something Audra has never quite understood, despite working in hospital administration. I pressed my palm against the cool wall, steadying myself. The engagement dinner I'd spent months planning, carefully balancing my budget and professional connections, reduced to another disappointment in their endless ledger of my failures. Well, my mother continued, the click of her heels punctuating each word, at least Brielle will give us the wedding this family deserves. I've already spoken to that wonderful planner who did the Wilsons Charity Gala last spring. She has connections with several social media influencers. My phone vibrated in my pocket, probably Nathan wondering why I hadn't shown up for our lunch meeting. We were supposed to discuss our own wedding plans, modest, practical plans that suddenly felt inadequate in the shadow of Brielle's upcoming spectacle. I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen before typing, running late. Family meeting complications. Then I remained rooted to that spot, absorbing every word as they discussed flower arrangements that cost more than my used Toyota, a dress budget that exceeded my annual salary, and venues I wouldn't dare dream of with my hospital administrator's income. Should we at least tell Audra about the budget difference? My father asked, a hint of guilt threading through his voice. The same guilt I'd heard when he explained why they couldn't help with my college tuition. Why? To make her feel bad? No, Theodore, Audra's practical, remember? Mother's voice carried that dismissive tone she reserved for inconvenient topics. She wouldn't understand these things anyway. She's always been different. Always buried in her medical paperwork and efficiency reports. Different. The word echoed in my head, taking on new meaning with each repetition. Different meant less than. Different meant not enough. Different meant standing in the shadows of the hospital administration wing while Brielle basked in the spotlight of her design studio's Instagram feed. I looked down at my folder, at the recommendation request inside that I'd been so excited to share, the prestigious healthcare management program, the full scholarship I'd earned through years of dedication to patient care and administrative excellence. None of it would matter, not to them. Not when compared to Brielle's perfectly curated life. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Brielle. Where are you? Mom says you're coming to my wedding dress fitting tomorrow. The whole thing will be featured on Style and Grace's social media. I stared at the message, something shifting in my chest, a plan forming in my mind. They wanted different? They'd get different. I'd show them exactly how different I could be. I turned away from the boardroom door, my heels silent on the polished hospital floor as I walked away. Let them plan their perfect wedding, let them fuss over their perfect daughter who matched their perfect image. I had other plans now, plans that would make them remember that sometimes the practical daughter, the one who understood medical records and patient care rather than social media metrics, could be the most dangerous. Grandmother Eleanor's kitchen always smelled like rebellion wrapped in home-baked wisdom. Today it was apple pie and brutal honesty, served with a side of perfectly steeped Earl Grey tea. The scent of cinnamon and justice filled the air. So you're just going to sit there and take it? She placed a slice in front of me, the crust golden and flaky, nothing like the pristine catered desserts my mother served at her hospital fundraisers. What choice do I have? I stabbed my fork into the pie, watching steam escape. They've already decided Brielle's wedding is their crowning achievement in hospital social circles. You have your master's program recommendation request. Eleanor's eyes sparkled with that dangerous gleam I'd inherited. Even at 78, the former civil rights attorney hadn't lost her fighter's spirit. Show them. I pulled out the crumpled folder from my bag, smoothing it against her worn kitchen table. The prestigious healthcare management program's letterhead seemed to mock me now, its promise of achievement already dimmed by today's revelations. They're in the conservatory, I said, checking my phone. Planning Brielle's engagement photo shoot for her design blog. Perfect timing then. Eleanor stood, her arthritis forgotten in her determination. Nothing like crashing a family meeting with actual achievements rather than Instagram followers. The walk to the conservatory felt like marching into a board meeting unprepared. Through the glass panels, I could see them, mother arranging Brielle's perfectly styled hair while father nodded at whatever the photographer was suggesting. A tableau of perfect family harmony, ready for their social media debut. I pushed open the door. The humid air hit me first, then Brielle's voice, practiced and camera-ready. Audra, finally. Tell mother my hair looks better down. The lighting picks up the highlights better for Instagram. I got accepted to the healthcare management program at Northwestern, the words tumbled out, sharp and abrupt. Full scholarship. The photographer's camera clicked in the silence that followed. Northwestern? Brielle wrinkled her nose, the same expression she used when reviewing subpar design proposals. Isn't that in Chicago? So, public healthcare? That's wonderful, dear, mother said, already turning back to Brielle's hair. Her fingers working to achieve the perfect casual elegance that would translate well to social media. But perhaps we could discuss this later. We're in the middle of something important. Important? The acceptance letter crackled in my grip. Like Brielle's third engagement photo shoot for her lifestyle blog? Audra, father warned, but I was done being careful. $200,000 for her wedding, but you couldn't spare $20,000 for my college tuition? When I was working night shifts at urgent care to pay for textbooks? Brielle stood up, her designer dress rustling. That's different. This is my wedding, my future. The Blakes are expecting certain standards. Do you know how many hospital board members follow my design account? Ladies, the photographer interrupted, lowering his professional camera, perhaps we should take a break. The lighting is getting a bit harsh for the social coverage. No need, mother said smoothly, her charity gala smile firmly in place. Audra was just leaving, weren't you, dear? The hospital must need you for some paperwork or something. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind her perfect smile, curated for her thousands of followers, I caught something, a flicker of satisfaction. She'd known about the wedding budget all along, probably had it planned out in one of her perfectly organized design mood boards. Actually, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands, I came to tell you I won't be at the dress fitting tomorrow. I have a meeting with the program director about my research proposal on healthcare accessibility. But I need you there. Brielle's voice hit that pitch she used to get her way, the same one that charmed sponsors and design clients. You're my maid of honor. Think of how it'll look on social media, the dedicated medical professional taking time to support her sister. Am I? I turned to leave, then paused. Or am I just another prop in your perfect Instagram story? Another way to show your followers how your whole family is part of the elite medical community? Audra Elizabeth Wilson, mother's Louboutins clicked against the stone floor as she followed me. You're being ridiculous. This behavior is exactly why. Why what, mother? Why I'm different, practical, not quite polished enough for the hospital's social circle. My voice echoed against the glass walls. Her face paled. You heard us? Every word. Brielle appeared beside her, arms crossed in a pose I'd seen on her design blog's Power Stance series. You were eavesdropping? How pathetically on-brand for you. Brielle, father started, but she continued, her voice carrying that social media influencer authority she'd perfected. This is exactly why mom and dad trust me more. I don't skulk around hospital corridors and throw tantrums when things don't go my way. I build connections, create opportunities. Trust you more? I laughed, the sound harsh in the humid air. They don't trust you, Brielle. They're buying you, just like they always have. Just like they're buying the Blake family's hospital board connections through your wedding. The photographer's camera clicked again. Perfect. Tomorrow's society pages and medical community blogs would probably feature the Wilson sisters' touching pre-wedding moment. Mother would probably spin it into a heartwarming story about family dynamics in the medical profession. I expect you at the fitting tomorrow, Mother said firmly, her fundraising committee voice in full effect. Family obligations come first. Think of what people will say if you're not there. No, the word felt like signing off on a difficult but necessary medical decision. My future comes first, for once. I've spent years building my career in hospital administration while you were all focused on social appearances. I'm done being the practical backdrop to Brielle's perfect life. I walked out of the conservatory, their protests fading behind me like distant call bells in a hospital corridor. In the kitchen, Eleanor was waiting with a fresh cup of tea and a proud smile that reminded me of my first day as a hospital administrator. How'd it go? She asked, though the glint in her eye suggested she'd heard every word. Exactly as expected. I sat down, my hand steady as I reached for the cup, the way they stayed steady during hospital crisis management. They didn't even blink at Northwestern. And how do you feel about that? Eleanor's question carried the weight of decades of legal interrogations. I thought about Brielle's satisfied smirk, the same one she used in her success story Instagram posts. About Mother's dismissal, as swift as her rejection of community health initiatives. About Father's silence, similar to his response when I'd suggested more accessible payment plans for patients. Like I finally see them clearly. All of them. It's like looking at a patient's chart and finally understanding the full diagnosis. Eleanor nodded, sliding another slice of pie toward me. Clarity's a dangerous thing in this family. Almost as dangerous as your mother's social climbing through hospital board connections. Good. I took a bite, savoring the sweet tart flavor. Because I'm done playing the practical daughter who keeps the hospital running while they chase social media fame. It's time they learned what different really means in healthcare management. Through the window, I could see Brielle and Mother heading to their Mercedes, probably off to damage control over my outburst. No doubt planning how to spin this on Brielle's lifestyle blog. Let them talk, let them plan. They had no idea what was coming. Old medical records have a way of exposing truths. I found the box while clearing out my desk at the hospital's administrative wing, preparing for my move to Northwestern. My family assumed I was just organizing files, having no idea I was looking for something specific. The document that caught my eye wasn't in the regular patient files. It was loose, slightly crumpled at the corners, a liability waiver from Harrison Blake's father's hospital, dated 2 years ago. The date stamp revealed a truth I'd long suspected, 2 days before Nathan mysteriously backed away from our plans to modernize the hospital's payment systems. My phone buzzed with a notification. Brielle, Mom's furious you missed the fitting, but I forgive you. Dinner tonight, just us sisters? Need to discuss some potential hospital design collaborations, winky face. I stared at the document, pieces clicking into place like a complex medical diagnosis. Nathan wasn't the only hospital administrator who'd suddenly lost interest in my healthcare accessibility initiatives after meeting Brielle. There was Dr. Michael Chen in residency, then David from the insurance department last year. The Oak Room, 7 p.m., I texted back. Time to test a theory about the intersection of healthcare politics and social influence. The Oak Room dripped old money and hospital board politics, Brielle's natural habitat. She was already there, holding court at the best table, wearing the engagement ring that probably cost more than my annual hospital administrator's salary. Her phone perfectly positioned to capture the candid sister moment for her social media followers. Audra. She air-kissed my cheek, a gesture she'd perfected for her design blog meet and greets. I ordered champagne, maintaining the facade. We should celebrate your Northwestern news properly. Your followers must be so excited. I placed the liability waiver on the table. Let's celebrate this instead. Her smile flickered, then steadied the same expression she used in her Handling Design Challenges Instagram stories. Oh God, that old thing. The formatting is terrible. I could recommend a great graphic designer. You look awfully cozy with Nathan in the signatures section, while he was still my fiancé and working on my healthcare accessibility program. Ancient history, she waved down a waiter with practiced elegance. We were just discussing hospital interior design concepts, like my consultations with Michael and David. The champagne arrived. Brielle poured with steady hands, but her knuckles were white around the bottle, a tell I'd learned to spot during countless hospital board negotiations. You're being paranoid, she said, adjusting her position for optimal lighting. Not everything is about your crusade for affordable healthcare. Did you sleep with them, Brielle? Or just promise them connections to the Blake family's medical empire? She glanced around, ever conscious of potential social media moments. This is hardly appropriate dinner conversation. Think of how it would look on my healthcare design blog. Neither is sabotaging your sister's attempts to make healthcare more accessible to lower-income patients. Sabotage? She laughed, but it was her social media laugh, practiced and hollow. They chose to pursue more profitable initiatives. I can't help being magnetic to success-oriented men. Magnetic. The word tasted bitter, like hospital coffee. Is that what you're being with Nathan? Using his position in hospital administration to further your connections? Her champagne glass paused halfway to her perfectly glossed lips. What? I've seen the way you look at him during hospital board meetings. The same way you looked at Harrison's father in this liability waiver photo. Don't be ridiculous. I'm engaged to Harrison. Nathan is your fiancé, for now. Brielle's perfect facade cracked, something dark flashing behind her Instagram-ready smile. You know what your problem is, Audra? You're so desperate to be the victim. Poor, overlooked Audra, always in my shadow, stuck in hospital administration while I revolutionize healthcare design. Maybe if you weren't so busy feeling sorry for yourself with your budget meetings and accessibility programs, you'd keep a man's interest. Like you kept Harrison's interest? Does he know about the private meeting with his father's hospital board last summer? The one that mysteriously coincided with the rejection of my patient care improvement proposal. She paled, her social media poise slipping. How did you? I have friends too, Brielle. Friends in hospital records, in administration, in places your Instagram followers never see. Friends who don't buy your healthcare influencer act. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Stay away from the Blake family's hospitals. She leaned back, studying me with new eyes. Then she smiled, a real smile this time, sharp as a surgical blade. Or what? You'll tell Mommy and Daddy? They'll never believe you over me. They never have. You know why? She continued, her voice dripping with the same condescension she used in her educational design posts. Because you're exactly what they think you are: practical, boring, safe. The backup daughter, the one they settled for when their healthcare connections needed a family member in administration. Her hand shot out, knocking over her champagne. The golden liquid spread across the white tablecloth, seeping into the liability waiver. Oops. She grabbed her designer handbag, the one she'd featured in her healthcare professional style guide post. Send me the cleaning bill. Oh wait, with that public hospital administrator's salary, you probably can't afford this place, can you? Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I always do. She left me sitting there, surrounded by champagne and ruined documents, her heels clicking against the floor in perfect rhythm for her Instagram story exit. A waiter rushed over with napkins, but I waved him away. I wanted to watch the liquid destroy the paper, erasing the evidence of one betrayal while I planned for the next. My phone buzzed again. Nathan, meeting at the hospital tonight? Need to discuss the quarterly budget. I thought of Brielle's warning, of all the healthcare initiatives she destroyed through her social connections. Then I thought of the way Nathan had been distant lately, how he'd started mentioning Brielle's healthcare design blog in board meetings. Actually, I typed, "Let's meet in your office. I have some interesting hospital records to show you." I picked up the soggy document and slipped it into my bag. Brielle wasn't the only one who could play the healthcare politics game. The difference was, I had actual patient care data on my side. The waiter returned with the bill. I paid in cash, money from my emergency fund. Some medical evidence was worth every penny. Nathan's office felt wrong the moment I stepped inside. His desk was too neat, his smile too practiced, like one of Brielle's curated Instagram photos. The picture of us at last year's hospital fundraiser that usually sat beside his computer was gone. "You wanted to show me something?" He leaned against his desk, loosening his tie, a habit I once found endearing during our late-night budget meetings. "Actually, I have a question." I pulled out my phone, scrolling through files. "Where were you last Thursday night?" "Budget committee dinner, you know that." "At Leon." He nodded, but his fingers tapped against the desk, a tell I'd learned to read during countless contract negotiations. "Why?" I turned my phone around, showing him the image Brielle had accidentally uploaded to her healthcare design story, her perfectly manicured hand holding a wine glass at Leon, Nathan's distinctive hospital ID badge visible in the background. She deleted it within minutes, but not before I'd saved it. Interesting budget meeting. Color drained from his face like a patient going into shock. "Audra, I can explain." "Can you explain this too?" I pulled out the old liability waiver with his signature next to Brielle's. "Or how about Dr. Chen? Or David from insurance?" "What are you talking about?" "My sister's hobby, collecting my healthcare connections." "Tell me, Nathan, did she pursue you with promises of Blake family hospital contracts? Or did you approach her after seeing her healthcare design influence?" He straightened, switching tactics like a surgeon changing approach mid-procedure. "You're being paranoid." Brielle and I ran into each other by chance. We had one drink to discuss potential design upgrades for the pediatric wing. His jaw tightened. "Are you tracking my meetings now?" "No, but Dr. Harrison's sister works in hospital administration there. She remembers you discussing more than just pediatric wing designs." Something shifted in his expression, not guilt, but relief, like a difficult diagnosis finally confirmed. Maybe we should postpone the wedding." The words hung between us, sterile as hospital air. He'd been planning this, I realized, waiting for me to give him an excuse to withdraw from our joint healthcare initiatives. "Postpone?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my ears. Why not be honest for once? You want to cancel it. The wedding and my accessibility programs. Audra, how long? He didn't pretend not to understand. A month. Since the Blake family started considering hospital renovations. Nothing just happens with Brielle. She plans, she pursues, she destroys one healthcare connection at a time. I moved to his desk, picking up a file folder marked Blake Hospital Network Merger Proposal. Like this merger you're working on? The one that would effectively privatize 3 community hospitals? His eyes widened like a patient flatling. How did you? Harrison Blake, Brielle's fiancé. Quite a coincidence that his family's hospital network hired your consulting firm right after you and Brielle started having design meetings. That's different. Healthcare consolidation is just business. His voice carried the same defensive tone he used when justifying budget cuts to community programs. I opened the folder. These patient care projections look optimistic, almost fraudulently so. Especially the impact on low-income communities. Put that down. Real fear now, the kind I'd seen in administrators caught falsifying Medicare reports. You don't understand what you're looking at. I understand enough. Northwestern Healthcare Management Program, remember? The one you and my family dismissed as too focused on public health? I closed the folder deliberately. Brielle must have promised you the Blake Hospital Network account. Your ticket to becoming healthcare consulting partner. You're upset, I get it, but threatening me isn't. Isn't that what Brielle did? Threatened to withdraw the Blake Hospital contracts unless you ended our engagement and killed my accessibility initiatives? His silence was answer enough, like a damning lab result. Here's what's going to happen. I placed the folder back on his desk with the precision of a surgical nurse. You're going to end it with Brielle, quietly. Then you'll tell everyone you called off our engagement because of ethical differences in healthcare management. And if I don't? These numbers reach the State Healthcare Commission. Anonymous tip. They love investigating private hospital networks. He stared at me like he was seeing a different person, not the practical hospital administrator who championed affordable care, but someone capable of playing the same hardball healthcare politics as the Blake family. I didn't think you were capable of this, he said finally, slumping into his ergonomic office chair. No one does. That's why community healthcare keeps losing to private interests. I headed for the door, then paused by his awards wall. One more thing. That consulting dinner last Thursday? Your firm billed it to the Blake Hospital account. Dinner for 2 at Leon. I'm sure Harrison would love to know what his family's healthcare network is paying for. Audra, wait. But I was already gone, my heels clicking against the sterile hospital floors, each step carrying me further from the woman I used to be, the one who accepted healthcare inequality with practical grace. My phone buzzed. Brielle, Nathan's acting weird. What did you say to him? We had plans to discuss the pediatric wing redesign. I thought about responding, about warning her that her carefully constructed healthcare influence network was unraveling. Instead, I blocked her number. Let her wonder, let her worry about her perfect medical industrial complex connections. The practical healthcare administrator had learned to play the game, and I was just getting started. In my bag, the old liability waiver crackled, a reminder of where this all began. But this wasn't about old betrayals anymore. This was about showing them exactly what different could do to change the healthcare system. The engagement party sparkled like sterilized instruments, beautiful from a distance, dangerous up close. Mother had outdone herself, transforming the hospital's grand ballroom into a showcase of wealth and medical influence. Everything perfect, everything staged for Brielle's healthcare design blog. I watched from the hospital balcony as Brielle worked the crowd, her red designer dress a splash of bold color among the conservative medical attire. She hadn't spoken to me since our confrontation, but her social media smile flickered whenever our eyes met across patient care presentations. Audra. Nathan appeared beside me, champagne in hand. We need to talk. About the Blake Hospital merger, or about how you're avoiding Brielle tonight? He gripped my arm, steering me toward a quieter corner near the emergency protocols display. This has to stop. Harrison is getting suspicious about the consulting reports. Having trust issues with his hospital network's newest designer? I pulled away, adjusting my cream silk blazer, the one Brielle had called too administrative on her professional style blog. I thought you ended it with her, like we discussed. Did you? Because she's wearing the medical conference badge holder you bought me for Christmas. I nodded toward Brielle, where a familiar platinum chain caught the light, the one that had disappeared from my office last week. Color drained from his face like a patient in crisis. Audra. Save it. I turned to leave, but he caught my wrist, his grip desperate like a drowning hospital administrator. You don't understand what's at stake. The merger, your partnership, or just my sister's healthcare connections? A commotion inside drew our attention. Harrison Blake had arrived early, his imposing figure visible through the glass doors of the hospital ballroom. His father, the hospital network CEO, following close behind. Brielle's perfectly curated smile faltered for just a moment. I should go in, Nathan said, adjusting his hospital board member pin. Of course. Wouldn't want to miss the show. I smoothed my practical blazer. Your consulting presentation is up next, isn't it? He hesitated. What did you do? Nothing yet. But I'd stay for the healthcare initiative announcements, if I were you. Inside, Harrison was making his way toward Brielle. I followed Nathan back into the gala, noting how he positioned himself between them, playing buffer, always the strategic healthcare consultant. Speech time. Mother clinked her glass, beaming at the assembled hospital board members and medical elite. Audra, darling, would you like to start? As our resident healthcare administrator? All eyes turned to me. Brielle's smile turned predatory, expecting another practical, forgettable presentation from her practical, forgettable sister about patient care metrics. I raised my glass. To healthcare. My voice carried across the suddenly quiet room. To accessibility, to trust, to ethics in medical management. Brielle's smile slipped like a dropped surgical instrument. And to truth, I continued, because without truth in healthcare, what do we really have? Audra, Mother warned, her fundraising smile wavering, but I was done being silenced in hospital board meetings. The truth is, I'm not the perfect healthcare administrator. I'm not the perfect fiancé. I'm just the practical one, right, Brielle? She took a step forward, but Harrison caught her arm, his eyes already narrowing at the consulting reports in his hand. But being practical has its advantages, like keeping detailed medical records, documenting consulting meetings, saving hospital security footage. The room went deadly quiet, like a hospital corridor at midnight. Nathan's glass shattered on the marble floor. Audra, that's enough, Father started, but Harrison's voice cut through like a surgical blade. What consulting meetings? Brielle turned to him, tears already forming perfect for her vulnerable moment social media story. Harry, she's lying. She's jealous because my healthcare design initiatives are more successful than her community programs. Meeting room 512, I said quietly, Metropolitan General, last Thursday. Would you like to see the visitor logs? Or perhaps the billing records from your father's hospital network? The silence stretched like a flat line on a heart monitor. Then Harrison released Brielle's arm, turning to Nathan. Is this true? Have you been falsifying consulting reports with her? Nathan looked at Brielle, at me, at the crowd of medical professionals watching with hungry eyes. I can explain the patient care projections. Harrison's fist connected with Nathan's jaw before he could finish his healthcare metrics. Brielle screamed. Mother fainted onto a nearby hospital donor. Somewhere in the chaos, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Well done. Eleanor's voice was soft but proud, though perhaps a bit more dramatic than necessary for a healthcare function. I learned from the best legal counsel. I watched as hospital security separated Harrison and Nathan, as Brielle sobbed perfectly timed tears for her Instagram story, as Mother was revived with smelling salts by concerned board members. They never thought I'd fight back, never imagined the practical healthcare administrator would expose their medical industrial complex games. No, Eleanor agreed, straightening her former civil rights attorney blazer. They thought you'd stay practical forever, keep running their community programs while they dismantled public health care. That's the thing about being underestimated in hospital administration. It gives you the perfect cover for systemic change. I touched the empty space on my lanyard where my old hospital ID used to hang. Was it worth risking my position here? That depends. She squeezed my shoulder. Did it make you feel better about the future of healthcare? I watched Brielle's mascara run as she chased after Harrison, watched Nathan press a monogrammed handkerchief to his bleeding lip, watched my parents try to salvage what was left of their perfect hospital networking evening. No, I admitted. But it made me feel something more important, like maybe we can actually change things. Then it's a start. Eleanor handed me her car keys. Go. I'll handle the medical board aftermath. I still have some influence in healthcare law. I slipped out as the chaos continued, leaving behind the shattered remains of 2 engagements, countless hospital network connections, and my family's carefully curated medical social circle. In my purse, my phone buzzed with messages I wouldn't read, threats from Nathan about professional consequences, urgent texts from Brielle about damage control for her healthcare design brand, meeting requests from concerned board members. The practical healthcare administrator had finally snapped, and there was no putting the system back together the same way again. 3 days after the charity gala, my parents appeared at my apartment door. Mother wore her crisis pearls, the ones reserved for major hospital donor emergencies. Father looked like he hadn't slept since losing the Blake Network contracts. The Blake Healthcare Group is threatening to sue, Mother said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. For breach of confidentiality. Harrison's father is pulling all their business from the hospital network. I poured coffee into my Northwestern Healthcare Program mug, my hands steady as they'd been during countless emergency room shifts. Not my problem anymore. I start at Northwestern next month. Mother's voice cracked. Audra, you've destroyed everything. Brielle's engagement, our hospital's reputation, your father's medical board connections. Our reputation. The coffee cup clicked sharply against the counter. What about patient care? What about healthcare accessibility? What about all the community programs Brielle and Nathan were planning to cut? That's different, Father said quietly. Brielle made a mistake in her healthcare consulting, but this revenge of yours, it's gone too far. You've compromised the entire hospital network. Gone too far? I laughed, the sound as bitter as hospital coffee. Like cutting community healthcare programs while funding her $200,000 wedding? Like dismissing every patient care initiative I've ever proposed because it wasn't profitable enough for the Blake Network? We're here to fix this, Mother cut in, using her hospital board crisis management voice. Harrison's family will drop everything if you publicly retract your accusations. Say the consulting reports were a misunderstanding. We can spin it as an internal audit error. You mean be practical, Father pleaded. For once, think about someone besides your public healthcare crusade. The word hit like a wrong diagnosis. Practical. That's all I've ever been to this family. The practical daughter, the backup administrator, the one who's supposed to smile and accept every healthcare policy betrayal because Brielle's social connections matter more. Brielle is in the hospital, Mother said quietly. Anxiety attack. The doctors had to sedate her before her lifestyle blog followers noticed. Something cold settled in my chest, like surgical steel. And she needs her sister. Her healthcare administrator sister to smooth things over. Mother stepped closer, her designer perfume mixing with the scent of my patient care reports. Audra, please. We can fix this. The Blake Healthcare Group will forgive everything if we handle it properly. Your father's hospital board position will recover. Brielle and Harrison can reconcile. What about me? What do I get out of betraying my healthcare ethics? We'll help with Northwestern, Father offered, his voice carrying the same tone he used when negotiating with insurance companies. Pay your tuition, set you up properly in Chicago's medical community. Now you offer? After I've already earned a scholarship with my community healthcare research? Audra, Mother's voice hardened to her hospital board meeting tone. If you don't fix this, we'll have no choice but to distance ourselves permanently from your healthcare initiatives. The threat hung in the air like the smell of antiseptic. You're choosing her again? Choosing profit over patient care? We're choosing family, Father said, though his eyes couldn't meet mine. The question is, are you? My phone buzzed. Another message from Nathan, we need to talk. The State Healthcare Commission is asking questions about the Blake Network merger. I looked at my parents, really looked at them, Mother's perfectly composed healthcare socialite facade, Father's weary hospital administrator resignation. They'd never change. Brielle would always be their priority, their perfect daughter, their connection to profitable healthcare networks. Get out. Audra, please think about the hospital's future. Get out. I hurled my Northwestern mug against the wall. It shattered, dark liquid staining the pale paint like a medical chart's warning signs. They left without another word, leaving behind the scent of Mother's perfume and decades of compromised healthcare ethics. My phone buzzed again. Grandmother Eleanor, they came to see you about the Blake Network, didn't they? I started typing a response when another message appeared, an email from Northwestern's healthcare management program. My scholarship had been rescinded due to professional conduct concerns in healthcare administration. The Blake family's influence in medical education, no doubt. Then another message from an unknown number. Hope your healthcare crusade was worth it, sister dear. By the way, Harrison's father is on Northwestern's medical board. Funny how healthcare networks operate. XOXO-B. The phone slipped from my fingers. I slid down the wall, surrounded by coffee stains and broken ceramic and shattered dreams of reforming the healthcare system. My revenge had cost me everything, my family, my education, my future in healthcare administration. Brielle would recover, would probably spin this into a sympathetic story about healthcare innovation and family dynamics on her medical design blog. Mother and Father would support her version, would help rebuild her perfect life in private healthcare while my public health career lay in ruins. The practical healthcare administrator had finally fought back and lost everything in the process. My phone buzzed one last time. Eleanor again, come to my office. It's time for Plan B. Remember, I didn't spend 40 years in healthcare law for nothing. I stared at the message, remembering her words from the charity gala. That's the thing about being underestimated in healthcare. It gives you the perfect cover for real change. Maybe she was right. Maybe this wasn't the end of my healthcare reform journey. Maybe being practical wasn't about accepting corrupt hospital networks, it was about being patient, about waiting for the perfect moment to expose systemic problems. I picked up my phone, stepping carefully around the broken pieces of my old healthcare administrator life. On my way to Eleanor's law office, I typed, "Bring the good scotch. We have some healthcare whistleblowing to discuss." The practical healthcare administrator wasn't finished yet, not by a long shot. Eleanor's study smelled of leather and vindication. On her desk, the files she'd spent decades collecting as the hospital network's silent observer lay open: billing records, internal memos, patient care statistics, a lifetime of healthcare industry secrets wrapped in manila folders. "Your mother never questioned where your father's initial hospital investment came from," Eleanor said, sliding a document across the desk, "or why I never challenged your grandfather's medical group buyout." I scanned the yellowed paper, understanding dawning like a diagnosis finally confirmed. "You let them think they'd won the hospital merger. Sometimes the best way to reform healthcare is patience." She tapped another folder. "The Blake Network merger. It's built on fraudulent patient care metrics. Your father and Nathan falsified accessibility reports to secure funding." Brielle knew. That's why she pursued Nathan. She needed him compromised before the state audit. My phone buzzed. "Brielle, Mom says you're at Eleanor's. Still plotting your healthcare crusade? Give up, sister. The medical board has made their decision." As if summoned by the text, the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Brielle's red Tesla in the parking lot, her designer medical bag perfectly positioned for an impromptu social media story. Perfect timing. Eleanor smiled, the same smile she'd worn while winning landmark healthcare accessibility cases. "Shall we?" Brielle burst in without waiting for Eleanor's legal assistant, our parents trailing behind her. She'd lost weight, her healthcare influencer dress hanging loose, but her eyes burned with familiar triumph. "Family intervention?" I asked, leaning against the desk filled with decades of hospital network evidence. "We're trying to save you from yourself," Mother said. "The Blake Healthcare Group is pressing charges unless you recant your accusations about patient care metrics." Actually, a new voice cut in, "We're not." Harrison Blake stepped into the office, followed by a woman in a dark suit. "What are you doing here?" Brielle's voice shook, her social media poise cracking. "Meeting your grandmother," Harrison said coldly. She had some interesting documents to share with the State Healthcare Commission. The woman in the suit stepped forward. "I'm Agent Torres from the Healthcare Fraud Division. We've been investigating the Blake Network merger for months. Ms. Wright provided the final evidence we needed about falsified community care reports." Brielle whirled toward me, her perfectly curated healthcare influencer mask slipping. "You vindictive little—" "Not Audra," Eleanor interrupted. "Me. I've watched you destroy every community healthcare initiative you touch, Brielle, just like your mother destroyed my son's dream of running a public hospital." "Not anymore. Theodore, do something." Mother grabbed Father's arm, but Father was staring at the documents on Eleanor's desk, recognition dawning in his hospital administrator eyes. "The initial medical group funding, it was blackmail?" "Insurance," Eleanor corrected, "against the day you chose Brielle's private healthcare connections over Audra's patient care ethics again." Agent Torres cleared her throat. "Mr. Wilson, we'll need you and Mr. Parker to come with us. Miss Brielle Wilson as well, given her role in concealing healthcare fraud and manipulating medical board decisions." "You can't prove anything." Brielle snapped, but her hands trembled as she reached for her phone, probably planning her crisis management social post. "Your emails to Nathan suggest otherwise," Harrison said, the ones where you discussed using our hospital network to force his cooperation in falsifying patient care data. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate after the charity gala? I did it for us. For our healthcare empire. Brielle turned to Harrison, tears falling in perfect influencer style. Everything I did was to build our medical network. No, I said quietly. Everything you did was to build your own brand. The difference is, now everyone sees the cost to patient care. Mother stepped forward, crisis pearls clicking like hospital monitors. Eleanor, please, we can fix this. Restructure the hospital network, adjust the patient care metrics. Fix it? Eleanor's voice cracked like a judge's gavel. Like you fixed Audra's community healthcare programs? Or her hospital administration career? Or her engagement? I was protecting our family's medical interests. Mother's voice rose, desperation breaking through her hospital board composure. You have 2 daughters, Eleanor said. One who wanted to help people, and one who wanted to profit from them. You just never deserved the first one. Agent Torres moved toward Brielle. Miss Wilson, please come with us. We have questions about your healthcare consulting contracts. As she led them out, Brielle's tears turning to rage, father's shoulders slumped in defeat, mother's protests fading, Harrison lingered. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For doubting your patient care concerns, for letting my father pressure Northwestern into withdrawing your scholarship. It's reinstated, Eleanor added. Harrison made sure of it before providing evidence to the commission. I watched through the window as Brielle was helped into a government vehicle, her Tesla abandoned in the parking lot like an unused medical device. Was it worth it? I asked Eleanor. All those years of watching, waiting, documenting healthcare fraud. She placed her hand over mine. Justice in healthcare usually is, even if it takes 30 years and a practical granddaughter to achieve it. My phone buzzed one last time, Nathan, probably being arrested at his consulting firm. I deleted the notification without reading it, just like I'd learned to ignore unnecessary alerts during emergency room rotations. What now? I asked, looking at the piles of healthcare fraud evidence surrounding us. Now? Eleanor smiled. Now you go to Northwestern, reform healthcare from within. Let them live with the consequences of prioritizing profit over patients. Through the window, I watched my family's carefully constructed medical empire crumble under the weight of decades of fraud and compromised ethics. The practical healthcare administrator had finally broken free, but the victory tasted different than expected, not sweet, not bitter, just necessary. Like a difficult but life-saving procedure. It was enough. The newspaper sat unopened on my desk at Northwestern's Healthcare Management Department. Brielle's sentencing hearing splashed across the front page, 3 years for healthcare fraud. Father got 5. Nathan turned state's evidence about hospital network corruption and got 18 months. A knock at my office door interrupted my thoughts. Package for you. The return address was Mother's new residence, a modest condo far from her former hospital board social circles. Her healthcare empire had crumbled after the scandal, taking her carefully constructed world with it. Inside was my old hospital ID badge, including the credential holder Brielle had stolen. A note fell out. I'm sorry I never saw your vision for healthcare. I slipped the badge into my desk drawer without putting it on. Some medical credentials carried too much weight. Heavy reading. Lucas leaned against my door frame, his public health research portfolio tucked under his arm. We'd met at a healthcare accessibility conference 6 months ago, when he was presenting his community clinic design initiatives. He'd asked about my story, and I'd told him the truth, all of it, the fraud, the family betrayal, the fight for ethical healthcare. He'd stayed anyway, understanding the importance of systemic change. Just ghosts from the private healthcare sector, I said, closing the newspaper. Speaking of ghosts, he handed me an envelope. Your grandmother's healthcare attorney dropped this off at my research center. Inside was a single key and an address. Eleanor had passed away last week, leaving behind a legacy of quiet strength and tireless advocacy for patient rights. The address led to a climate-controlled storage unit across town. Inside, dozens of boxes lined the walls, each labeled with dates spanning decades of healthcare corruption. The one marked with yesterday's date contained a letter. Dear Audra, you're wondering why I kept all this evidence, why I waited so long to use it. The truth is, I needed you to understand something I learned too late in my healthcare law career. Reform isn't about destroying systems, it's about refusing to let them destroy what matters: patient care, medical ethics, human dignity. These boxes contain every secret, every fraud, every manipulation I witnessed in our healthcare system over the years. I'm leaving them to you, not because you need them anymore, but because you deserve to know you were never wrong, you were never less than. You were just surrounded by people too small to see how big healthcare reform could become. What you do with these files is your choice. Keep them, destroy them, learn from them. But remember, the practical healthcare administrator turned out to be the strongest advocate for change. All my love, Eleanor Lucas found me sitting among the boxes, reading through decades of carefully documented healthcare system abuse. You okay? I looked up at him, this man who saw my vision for healthcare reform without needing to diminish it, who supported my work without keeping score in social influence. I want to build something, I said, clutching Eleanor's letter. What kind of something? A healthcare advocacy foundation. Full scholarships for medical ethics students, support for community health initiatives, legal aid for whistleblowers in healthcare. He sat beside me, examining one of Eleanor's meticulous files on hospital network fraud. Using your family's corruption to help others fight the system? No, I closed the file. Using my inheritance. The trust fund Eleanor left me, the one my grandfather actually intended for ethical healthcare initiatives before it was diverted to private hospital networks. Seems fitting to use it to help other practical healthcare advocates. Your mother won't like it. My mother is learning to live with a different kind of healthcare system. I stood, surveying the boxes of medical fraud evidence. Have your community clinic architect available tomorrow. These need to go to my healthcare attorneys. All of them. Evidence of corruption is like medical waste, powerful, but dangerous to hold on to too long. I picked up Eleanor's letter. This is the only piece of the past I need to keep. Lucas helped me close up the storage unit, the key heavy in my pocket like a hospital administrator's badge. As we walked to his car, my phone buzzed, a text from Brielle's prison email system. I hate you. I hate that you won. I hate that you were right about the healthcare system. I deleted it without responding. Some medical ethics debates weren't worth having anymore. You never told me, Lucas said as we drove away, what made you finally stop wanting revenge against the private healthcare network. I thought about Mother's empty apology, about Brielle's bitterness, about Father's defeated silence in court, about how victory in healthcare reform felt nothing like I'd imagined. I realized I didn't want to win, I said. I wanted to heal the system. He took my hand, his grip warm and steady like a trusted colleague's. In the rearview mirror, the storage unit disappeared around a corner, taking with it the last pieces of the practical healthcare administrator I used to be. Ahead lay Northwestern, the Advocacy Foundation plans, a future built on ethical medical care. It wasn't perfect, nothing in healthcare ever is. But it was mine, earned through documentation and determination and the wisdom to know when to operate on a broken system. Sometimes the best reform isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply becoming the healthcare advocate you were always meant to be, practical or not.